To start, and I'll call our session back to order, budget workshop number 3, I believe it is. And we'll open it up for kind of some general conversations and then get into it. But I would point out, he's on the board, they have the new numbers for the tag office that Rita and Cole came and presented on, and they're updating those.
We had estimates there before. We've got the exact.
That is page 8.
Few $100 difference there.
So it's, I wrote down 66,066 yesterday, so it's a little less. That's good. Thank you.
Trying.
We do have one negative adjustment, which is under dispatch. We were moving the tower rent from special appropriations into dispatch and didn't wind up getting it in either place, so we need to put that in there. 18,000, which is 511,1701. So we're still up about 42,000 from where we started, so we're still 42,000 to the better.
Page 12.
So the LACM is June 30.
And we do have a couple presentations coming. I think next week we have Josh and Jim coming to share or talk about something. We'll see what that is. And then we have superintendent coming on the 18th.
And microwaves with the arts and stuff.
18th. Yeah, on that note, do you all have anyone you would like to reach out and invite in or hear from?
Who's coming today?
No one today.
Nobody today.
Nobody today.
Josh and Jim are coming one day next week, next Tuesday.
Next
Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
And then the superintendent the next week. So, do y'all have anybody you'd like to hear from that you, okay. All right, John?
I'm getting continuing questions, and I'm also being asked by employees. Have we heard anything about the hospital? What their status is? I recently had an appointment in Elkin and ran into a former employee, said that they couldn't get enough hours, so they moved down to Elkin, and the employees are rather uncomfortable with the situation over there. Is anyone else hearing any rumors about the hospital?
There's definitely been turnover. EMS, we primarily just deal with the emergency department. Been a lot of turnover, a lot of new staff. I know Linda and the shift supervisors, they're much happier with the new people running the emergency department than what was there before. But I haven't heard anything around that rumor, no.
I thought whenever we started that, we would have dirt being turned this spring.
I think dirt will be turned this fall. They've awarded the contract to the contractor, and they're finalizing the drawings, working on the drawings now. So we expect that to happen this fall.
I think it would behoove us to reach out to the hospital and find out, get a status from the management before, since we do have $100,000 of interest in that, and get it straight from the horse's mouth instead of the rumors that are floating all over the county.
Yeah, of course, Baptist being bought complicates the situation a little. We're not our hospital's not owned by Baptist. It's owned by an LLC that is 50% owned by Baptist, but that's still a complicating factor. But they've already spent a ton of money towards drawings and all that for our new building, so I don't anticipate it being delayed, but we can get an update at a upcoming meeting.
I feel much more comfortable before we finalize the budget and make a commitment to our next installment.
I think it would be prudent to at least get a public comment and update status. I would say this, I was over there for a checkup the other day and saw some folks walking around with blueprints in their hands. It could have been just for changing out a piece of equipment or something. I don't have any clue, didn't engage in conversation, but, so something's going on
Well,
over
we
there.
didn't like them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
Put them on the list to reach out. We'd definitely like to hear from them and reach out to Jeff Cox to see if he has, would like to present or
Hospitals are interesting, back in East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, there was two companies that owned every hospital. And they were in the middle, they're still trying to merge, they've been trying to merge for about 2 years now. And they keep buying property in these underserved areas, say they're going to build a hospital, then they get approval, the regulatory approval, then they just, it's still a vacant lot years later. They're notorious for doing stuff like that. Hospital, at least the hospitals back in East Tennessee are notorious for doing that. They bought a piece of property about a mile from my parents' house, and that was going to be the brand-new hospital in this little town, and still a nice lot. Now that the governor has approved the merger, it's going to stay a lot, I would say.
We talked about the hospital with the ambulance service, not, used to, the hospital would restock the ambulances, and they've quit doing that. Is that correct?
That is.
That's my understanding, yeah.
That's
And
why- that's
you
why
were
the
gonna talk
Alleghany
to
Rescue
them or
Squad is asking for
somebody
more
on the
money.
board or something
Mm-hmm.
to see how that could be worked out. I mean, they're still raising money in the county, tens and tens of thousands of dollars coming from the county residents. And I just, it'd be interesting to see why they stopped and if they can start up again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a situation where they weren't actually supposed to be doing that, either legally or company policy, they just weren't doing it, or if it's something they deliberately stopped. I don't know any details behind that. So, I mean, it's, that stuff's very tightly regulated, I can't just buy medicine and give it to you, even if you're another doctor, there's a lot of red tape to go through, so I don't know the exact story, but we'll get some more details on that.
But you were going to check and see.
Yeah, I'm working with Dr. Bryan on a couple of issues. That was one of them, so.
Did you talk to Josh about that thing I talked about at the fairgrounds trailer?
I talked to Jim about it last night. He said they added those extra rails on the bridge to keep people from bringing their cars on there, and I don't think the stage is too wide to get back out the bridge now.
What I asked Mike about, and we approved that the other day, is for the Heritage Festival, they always have to borrow some farmer's flatbed for a stage, because where do you use that one, bring it uptown for the Heritage and then take it back to the fairgrounds? Would make things a lot simpler, but if it won't cross the bridge, then that's a different issue.
I mean, the other way out is by the fire training center. That road is so bumpy. I don't know that I don't know if the stage would get out that way, and if it would survive the trip. I don't know. So, but that's not, the answer is not 100% no at this point, but it doesn't, the easy way out's not going to work because of that.
So, are we talking about moving the stage?
Just like if we needed it for a show somewhere else and then bringing it back, so.
That road would have to be much improved because the stage the frame has been cracked and re-welded on several occasions.
I don't think it would, as the road is now, I don't think it would
No,
survive the
that-
trip going out
The
that way
frame would
now.
probably completely break with what they've got right now.
So we narrowed that bridge. I guess there was problems with people driving their cars on there and messing around or something. I don't know, but.
Well, they were also collecting tickets on the upper end, and people were getting around it by driving down on the bottom. Whenever the Marine Corps League ended up doing tickets down there a couple of times. We had some problems.
All right, anything else? All right, we will pick up, or try to, where we left off. I have that we all were okay and finished up at EMS, and then ready to look at cooperative extension. Is that, Are we all on the same page there? Okay. All right. Any questions on those? A lot of change. Salary. That's the biggest change. The manager's number is 188,800. Good with that?
I didn't have any.
Salaries, basically, we get a letter from NC State every year. Here's what their salaries are, and here's the county's portion, and that seems to grow every year, so.
Just there was a reduction in part-time, which is good, that from actual previous year of 24,000 down to 15. Is that, are
Well,
we?
that's what I was kind of mentioning to him, and that's what I was reading right here in the book as well. It looks like under, Amy's explanation sheet that in the top line, the 154 number, she's included, a position that's 25 hours.
I noticed.
So my mind, we probably need to move that from full-time to part-time, then that money's going to be about the same.
Yeah, I've seen that. That was my next comment, was where we are on that line. Kind of makes the two about the same.
So it's really a wash.
It looks
We're
like it.
just
She's just doing it differently.
changing the pews.
Right.
The farmers market's had a very good open to the season this year, so it's been very good turnout, both from vendors and from customers so far, from what I understand.
Okay, so we're good there, 188.8.
See how we could change it.
Without objection, we'll move to soil and water. I noticed some rearranging of some monies there and positions a little bit, or staffing.
I think they're really looking at a part-time position to help out when the other girls are out on their training and so forth.
If you remember, we had been two people in that department for a long time.
24.
We approved a third position for the year we're in now, but we're going to go back to two, and then the Soil and Water Board had requested a part-time person in lieu of that third full-time person.
I talked to you about the soil and water. We're paying $500 when we go to the Ag Award dinner for the videoing. Okay, I guess that's something that we on the board, the Ag Board needs to talk about.
Yeah, and of course, that's back in the Economic Development Department, the ag banquet expenses. But yeah, the Ag Board paid, of course, Charlie does a short video on all the award winners that plays, and then he videos the whole ceremony, and that runs on Channel 21 and on the website and things like that. So,
Well watched, too.
yeah, and I think that's a very, very good price, but certainly the Ag Board has the option to do something else if they want to make a recommendation on that. Of course, I'm also a board member of Alleghany Community TV as well, so just for
And the big
avoid any
expense,
conflict of interest there.
yeah, the big expense in the Ag dinner really is the meals, almost $2,700.
Yeah. We purchase the food, and then the Pines does all the cleanup and serving and preparing and all that, so. And I think we pay pay a little bit to the church to rent the facility, $200 or something, I think, as well, so, and buy the trophies and things like that, so.
I mean, everybody, that's the biggest thing we do for the farmers about all year long is that awards dinner. That's,
I stopped in there just a few weeks ago, and it sounds as though the two that we have staff there are going to be able and feel comfortable that they can manage and would like to have part-time, potential for part-time to come in and help, and they're looking at a former employee that was there that kind of knows the ropes. So it sounds like they've got a pretty good system going on and pretty well run. And as the new leadership there kind of gains knowledge and experience, that will be, sound like we got the right folks there is what I'm trying to say. Sounds positive. Bill?
Those girls doing a fine job. They walked in there and took over and kept everything moving and doing real well.
Had their hands full, but
Yeah,
I think they've managed.
They've met several
Very
big
well.
challenges and stepped right up to it.
So we, 114,059. Are we good on that number? Okay. Veterans Office,
I have no questions on the Veterans Office.
45,183 total.
That, we keep putting a lot of money back into the local economy through Kenneth there, so every
Yeah.
month he's got 2 or 3 folks that, they got $5,000 back pay, and now they're
Lot of
getting
success
$400 a
stories there.
month, yeah.
I mean, a lot of positive impact in the individuals' lives that he's been able to serve.
$750 for the 3 chairs for the Capitol. Can you just move it up to equipment?
Yeah.
In bottom line. Okay. Transportation,
$750.
Yeah, we're just moving it up from capital to equipment. No reason to capitalize
Indirect.
something that small.
Right. And that saves work after the fact.
That office does need some more comfortable chairs, because it's a lot of older folks coming in there, and we need a little bit more comfortable furniture.
Well, they're mature. They're not old.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, you're both, aren't you? You're older than me and you're a veteran, so you qualify for both categories.
I would like to say that when we started with the Veterans Office, there was some concern that full-time may not be needed, but I think that it's more than shown that it's well worth the 40 hours a week that he puts in.
Oh, yeah, we're putting a lot of money into the local economy, so, and it's folks that really need it, so that's been a good move. You guys had just done that when I got here, or right after I got here or something, so I remember that.
are we finished in the Veterans?
Yes.
Okay. Transportation Administration Department. Had a question on indirect cost. What is that?
We have an allocated cost plan that's created annually, and out of that indirect cost plan, it allocates money for each department on what their department's costing countywide. So it takes a portion of administration, takes a portion of your all, administration, finance, so on and so forth, and allocates it out to each department. So this is the number for transportation that came out of the allocated cost plan.
This is a state-directed.
This is actually, we get money reimbursed from the state. They will reimburse us, I think it's 85% off the top of my head of the indirect cost that we get back from the state for transportation.
Yeah, think of it like you're deducting business use of home on your income tax return. We calculate the amount that every department contributes, but only a couple do we get reimbursed on, so we don't put it on the budget for administration. We don't get any of my time or Drew's time reimbursed, but transportation and DSS, we do get some of it back, so we split that out separately.
And that's not money, the 18,873, we will not spend that money. It's just it has to be budgeted in order to get reimbursed from the state. In the same scenario, you're going to see it in just a few minutes with social services. They have a dollar amount budgeted as well.
It's like 311 or
Yeah,
something.
it's over 300,000.
It's a way of allocating it, they're not necessarily going to spend that.
Correct. This way they can show that it's budgeted as an expense to the state to get our reimbursement.
Yeah, Larry, it's an overhead allocation from corporate office for your region. I know you're familiar with that.
Curious when it went down.
The total number, one of the big things that it went down is our total number of transactions for the entire county went down last year. So therefore, that impacts the numbers.
We're doing some, by the calculation, percentage-wise, it produced a different. Okay. Okay. Any other qualms, questions, concerns? It did change, it has changed from 18's actual of 120,000 to 153,938. And of course, she was just here not long ago, and we had some additional monies to put in there.
That's on the 40 fund that she was here a couple, 3, 4 meetings
Yeah.
ago about. This is actual on the general fund side. So that conversation that we were having the other day is not
from this
here.
number.
Yes.
Tell you, it doesn't matter where you are in the county, you see that transportation moving people. I don't care if you go to Ennis, you go to Stratford, you go to Winston, you sometimes see them up and down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we take people to the Charlotte airport sometime, but most of our riders are Medicaid patients going to the doctor, or they're disabled folks going somewhere. And a lot of those folks would be in big trouble without that service, so.
It is a great service for the senior population in particular.
It's never gonna make money, it's never gonna cash flow, but that's just one of the, like the sheriff's department, is one of the essential services that we're gonna have to provide. If we don't provide a little bit of money for transportation, we're gonna have to provide a lot more money for additional care for those folks, so.
I know that one person who had cancer used Alleghany, they used it all the time to take their cancer treatments. And they said they were treated so nice when they got back on the bus from after chemotherapy or whatever, that they used them as long as they physically could.
Yeah, we have folks going to dialysis 2 or 3 times a week. We have 4 or 5 folks like that, so yeah, it's part of the, bring us your poor, your weak, your huddled masses, like the Statue of Liberty says.
And there is state revenue that's offsets a lot of those numbers, so I don't know exactly which ones match up to what, but
It's off the
the
top.
account for it is like 350,000 or something for transportation, but for this portion of it, that's including social services and reimbursements and all.
Right, their revenue line it's like $131,000 off the top of my head, transportation's is.
Yeah, 397,900.
31, 132.
Yeah.
And that number has been froze at the state level for a number of years. So,
So we're getting in 131, we're spending out 155, basically, so.
Basically, another way of saying it is the transportation services are costing the county approximately $25,000 a year
for the administrative side.
for the administrative.
And it started out, with the public transportation division, they will only reimburse a maximum up to like 85%, and the county has to do 15%, is the way it had started. So it's not It's some different from that, but it's not a ton different from that, I guess is my point.
All right, 153, 938 is total starting, total ending, without objection. Okay. Moving right along to social services.
Of course, Lisa had asked for 3 additional social work positions. I kind of split the difference and added 1.5 to this year's budget, basically 1 to hire July 1, 1 to start January 1. Just trying to find ways, so I'm not coming for a 7 or 8 cent tax increase. 3 positions are probably needed, but, you know, the good thing about if we add a social work position, of course, the pay's gone up a lot, but we get roughly half the costs reimbursed by the state, so it's not as big a hit as some other full-time positions would be.
Half is paid back by the.
Approximately. Everything, depends on what area they work in. It might be 45%, it might be 55%. Depends what they do every day. You know, adult cases are this much of a reimbursement, juvenile cases are this much of a reimbursement, so on. But approximately half. And that's for their medical insurance and everything, approximately half.
Now, if they do the Medicaid expansion, that's going to also increase her needs.
Medicaid expansion will definitely increase the needs, yeah. Now, what's going on right now is Medicaid transformation. They're changing the way Medicaid's administered, but they're not expanding the roster of Medicaid, but that's inevitable. That will happen.
This 1.5, does this put us below the federal guidelines, and are we in jeopardy?
Well, the state has some, I don't know, we have 15, 16 services that we provide. Some of those services do have state requirements. Some of them have state benchmarks that they want you to be at, and some don't have any posted guidelines at all. We are around the benchmarks and the requirements on, you know, everyone that has it posted. You know, certainly, we could use another body or 2 over there, no question about that. The starting pay for the social workers, of course, we have 24, 25 employees. They're not all social workers. There's maybe 8 or 10 that are social workers. That position, the pay has really increased around the country in the last 2 or 3 years for licensed social workers with a 4-year degree. So we've lost a few of those over the last year. We just had one resignation the other day. That's going to continue to be the case. I mean, we can't pay what somebody went to Buncombe County about 3 months ago and, you know, making $20,000 more. We just know we're not going to be able to pay that.
I would say on that note is what we've done with our pay locally has really slowed that, because we used to see
Oh, yeah,
that used to be a real
we've
bad
ramped the social
revolving
work
door.
pay up
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah, so.
We've done all we can do to stem the tide.
So what is the cost for the 1.5? What are your projected costs for the 1.5 position? What's the total number for that?
Cut out.
One's eliminated.
And eliminated, he's 1.5 included,
Yeah, right.
additional. What's the total number?
It would be about $100,000 for the 1.5 net of the reimbursement. No, I'm sorry, it'd be about, yeah, that's about right.
And the state will pay 45 to 55% of that,
Mhm.
in that range.
So what's our?
Sorry, it'd be about another $60,000 net.
So that's county cost would be
Yeah,
about
about
$60,000.
$60,000 to add that 1.5 positions back.
That's for 1.5.
So
Now
double
we-
that for 3.
Right.
Okay.
Is this mainly driven by the foster care?
That's a big part of it, foster care. The Medicaid transformation is going to create more work, at least on a short-term basis, because you're going to have a lot of confused Medicaid recipients for the next few months, making a lot of extra phone calls, things like that. So we have roughly 2,000 folks are eligible for Medicaid in the county, roughly. About 20% of the population, which that's pretty standard.
So if right now we're at 48 children for foster care, if that, you never know how many you're going to have in foster care. 2 or 3 years ago, it was 11 or 12. Now it's ballooned up to 48.
Probably going to keep blooming.
In a year or two, if it goes back down, do we still need both this 1.5? I assume we do because of Medicare.
If we have Medicaid expansion, we'll be adding more.
Yeah, if there's Medicaid expansion, we'll need
Medicaid.
probably 3 more positions on top of these 3,
I
I would
use,
say.
my intel source is NC Spin. And they are, the way they're talking, the likelihood of Medicaid expansion coming is just about for certain.
Chance of it
Just
happening,
don't know
I'd say,
when.
is 97%. It's just, it's going to be 2
Yeah.
years, 4 years. When's it going to be?
What budget will it impact when?
And, you know, on a theoretical basis, it would help our local hospital, because some of those folks are in the indigent care bucket now. Hospital's not getting anything for them. We get them onto Medicare, at least, I know it costs us taxpayer money, but at least, you know, some of their medical bills are well, the hospitals and doctors' offices will get some payment for them, so there's a positive side to that.
Please clarify for me. Right now, Lisa asked for 3 employees additional. You're giving her 1.5, picking up 1 in January.
Really, it's 2 people, but yeah, we're just delaying the hire on
So-
the second one, yeah.
If the additional cost, if we add the other 1.5, would be approximately
60,000. It's a
$60,000.
net, yeah, because after the net of the reimbursement, yeah.
So,
The thing on the foster care, the number of children in foster care, they are everywhere. I mean, they are putting a lot of time in with their visiting and their requirements to do everything that those require, so.
It's so interesting, like Wilkes County, of course, they're a lot bigger than us. They have over 200 kids in foster
Almost
care.
300.
Watauga is about 4 times our size, and they have like 40 kids in foster care. That's it.
yeah, but most
So
of
it's
their,
just, it's so very, I mean, I know every county's different. Watauga County's not the same as Wilkes, not the same, but it's just so interesting, that
most of
number.
Watauga County is retirees that have out past their childbearing years. And also, you've got the students at Appalachian State Teachers College. So, you know, as far as childbearing people on welfare, there isn't that many in Watauga.
My concern for not adding it is thinking about turnover. If we lose more, which we're going to, because that's a high-demand job.
It's very stressful.
And the other thing that I think we need to look at talk about is putting some incentives in for foster parents. Some kind of bonus sign up for them to take on a kid. Because it's pretty intense, the training and everything, time they have to go through.
About a 6-month process to get certified by the state to accept a foster child in your home. And yeah, we talked about that at a DSS board meeting a month or 2 ago. I just threw it out as an idea, you know.
Well, my fear is whenever I lived in, down in New Hanover, I believe it was Brunswick County where they had a child that died in foster care. And they did not maintain the minimum standards, and whenever the state and federal government went through them, they basically took over the program.
I'm not concerned about our local folks not
I
meeting
am.
the requirements. They'll meet them.
Oh, yeah.
However, to what burnout level if there's not enough help to meet them? I mean, we have, the people here are they're going to do everything it takes to meet the requirements and everything, but how fast are we going to lose folks from burnout for having to not having enough help to kind of spread the cases along?
You've touched a sore subject with that, because right now, look at what's contributing to burnout. These people are getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, driving for 6 hours to spend an hour with the child, and then driving back for 6 hours. So we've got a 12-to-1 ratio between travel and actually being with the child. Now, we are beating people up every daggone week with this travel to do their job. And I mean, I salute them for it, because there isn't that many workers that would, basically on their own time, get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, take a risk to drive down there and do their job in one day.
As we add more people, we're going to need to add another vehicle or two probably at some point as well to their fleet. But again, we can get half reimbursed on the vehicle as well, so.
I would like to throw out something else in this conversation. I think this is a good time. I don't think we as a county, myself individually, are doing what we could do to try to promote this challenge. I mean, we need foster parents locally. I mean, we don't have any, basically. I think we need to maybe focus our efforts and try to do some things to promote that and reach out. I mean, I know we have folks here that could do it. I believe we do. But I just don't think we're putting it out there enough and stressing it enough and asking enough. I know when we were at the district meeting and we got a goodie bag.
Yeah, promotional materials.
And everything in that was, they were promoting some of the needs and challenges and things. And I thought that was very good. Some of it, most of it was dealing with social services. But there were several other areas that they were promoting and putting a little money into to try to get this challenge, this need, promoted in a way to where the community maybe would step up at a little higher degree than they currently are. Because, I mean, we have a lot of great folks in this community. I mean, I'm not saying every one of them would want to be foster parents, but I think if we would create better awareness, there's potential for getting, and the benefit to that, of course, is minimizing that travel more local, and I think keeping the kids potentially closer to their home environment, but far enough away to get what they need. So I think that's an opportunity we should consider talking about after we get through the budget to try to help alleviate some of that.
This goes back to where we're chasing the chicken or the egg. We've given the sheriff's department 2 undercover officers so that hopefully we could cut down on the drug usage. But whenever they make arrests, we invariably end up with more children in foster care.
That's why it's.
I mean, here we are. I just noticed that we are spending foster care needs clothing. Because a lot of these kids, whenever they are taken out of the house, they don't even have clothes.
And we
And
do
we go and buy clothes.
And we do an angel tree, the county employees do angel tree at Christmas for the foster kids, we divide them up and buy clothes and toys and things like that for the ones that need it.
The faith community does backpacks and things that they have available for these kids too. I mean, there's a lot of things
And
going on.
toys at Christmas.
Yeah, so, I mean, we, as a community, I mean, you can see the heart of the community, but I think there's ways we could step up. Bob?
Mark mentioned yesterday about kids going to school, or Monday, going to school, and that's your one good meal of the day, and it's the same population of children that we're talking about here, that are in and out of foster care as mom and dad are having trouble,
You were talking about, you think in the long run, we're going to need possibly 3 more people at social services.
Whenever Medicaid expansion happens, we'll need at least 3 more.
Are we going to have physical room to put these people where DSS is located now? Do we need to be looking long-term at a different location, or are they going to be able to fit in there?
I have asked Lisa that question directly. With the conversion of paper to digital, she has gained a couple of rooms back there. She can put two desks in each room. Right now, she feels she's got sufficient space. However, the gorilla in the room is Medicaid expansion.
I think we just have to stay in the know and see how that progresses, but it wouldn't hurt to kind of start
Well, I'm saying
some
long
long-term
range.
planning to anticipate something there. What are our options?
If the Partnership for Children gets their place built, we might be able to do our visitations there and free up some more office space at our building. But somewhere 10 years, somewhere down the line, we are going to need a bigger building for social services, or move part of them out, or something. Well, eventually we'll cap out.
And the other thing is, I was reading that, I guess in Lisa's letter to us, that we have to travel out of state to visit some of these. How does that visitation work? In-state, in-county, and then out of state? How does
The
that?
requirement to spend whatever the amount of hours it is per week, per month with a child is the same. If they are next door or they're in New Mexico, we still have to visit them, whatever the requirements are, an hour a week or whatever that amount is. So that doesn't change. Now, the ones that are way out of state, occasionally we can do a barter and a social services, maybe in a North Carolina social worker from another county can do a one visit occasionally. But for the most part, it's our folks getting in the vehicle and going to see them.
So if we have to visit out of state, or if we have to visit out of the county, do we send a deputy sometimes with the social worker, or is it just the social
I
worker?
think it's generally just social worker. We don't have that many out of state. We have a bunch down in the eastern end of North Carolina. We try to keep them in North Carolina if at all possible. So again, we could have somebody from a social worker from another county, maybe check in on them if something happened. But generally, it's just our social worker going into the home, unless, sometimes they'll take a deputy with them if they know there's going to be a situation, but typically, it's just our social worker going in there.
So we physically go to the East Coast several times a month or a
Several
year?
times, yeah, several times a month, yeah, a few times a month, yeah. Probably once a week, somebody's driving 4 or 5 hours somewhere.
And is that because we don't have foster parents in the county?
Yeah. Of course, sometimes, obviously, we want to get them back to their parents. That's option A. Option B is grandparents, aunt, uncle, somebody like that. But sometimes you just can't. We have to put them wherever there's a home that will care for them. And then maybe they eventually get adopted, and then we have to check in through the adoption process. So it's complicated. We have several down at Ebenezer and Wilkes County. We have a couple over at the Cross North School in Avery County that have different needs, but they're just spread everywhere. Wherever we can find a good, like we talked about at our MCO meetings, finding a mental health bed. It's very similar. Wherever we can find a good spot for them, we're going to claim it and put them there,
So literally, if we had a child in Florida, we would have to go, if we couldn't get another agency to check on them, we would have to go to any state there is.
Yeah. Most of them, all but a couple, are in North Carolina, but I said a lot of them are in Raleigh or east, just wherever we can find a good spot for them. So.
I never realized that we had to travel.
I said, wherever they are, we still have to get in front of them. I don't know if it's an hour a week, an hour, whatever that requirement is, we still have to
If it's
do
an
it
hour a week,
wherever
then-
they are.
With no problems, they make no accusations, it's an hour. If they make an accusation, then it's an investigation.
Couple of things is, as far as the building goes, where DSS is currently housed, just for the public, is when we are renting that space, and we do get reimbursement. So our best position is to stay in rental property. And that space, the conversation has been had, it can be added on to, or it would be at least that would be considered by the owner. The other comment I'd like to make or suggestion is you have 1.5, that's one first of the year, one mid-year. What if we did 1.5.5? Or what if we did 2 and then a .5, which would be a total of 3 and just brought the .5 in at mid-year?
I'd
recommend 2 to start with.
rather have 2 to start with.
Basically, right now, we are about $42,000 better than where we started. Adding the one additional, that would basically,
Wipe it out.
that put us, we still would be back about where we started, within $5,000, one way or the
Good.
other. We could add that position, that extra social work position.
So are you all suggesting 2 for the year
Yes.
and do away with the half and bring the third one in possibly next year or whatever is deemed necessary?
I've got no problem.
They're saying add 2. Y'all okay with that?
So still 2, we'll just add them both July 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I would
since they-
offer this on my part, if, you know, I don't want to tie their hands. I mean, if they really keep getting pushed with this, some of these challenges with foster care, and it gets further and further and more time, you know, I would want her to come and let us know and keep us abreast of
And
that.
I'll
And
make sure,
Larry being
yeah.
on that board, he's aware of that some too, so.
And two,
So they-
Lisa, excuse me, go ahead.
Basically, what we're looking at right now, we're going to authorize her to hire 2 additional people effective July the 1st, new fiscal year. She is short 1 right now, so she's going to be looking for 3.
Right.
So,
2 new ones.
2 new
Filling
ones and
in,
1 and
yeah.
a replacement. I'm sorry,
No, you're fine. Lisa had just talked to me about the need for these 3 positions and the letter that she had wrote to you all. So I don't know if there's any questions about how, if she doesn't get all 3 of them, how that's going to impact her. I don't know if it would be worthwhile just to ask her to come talk to you all. I'm just,
Before we finalize that.
right.
reach out to her and ask her.
I think,
Drew.
yep, Drew just had it in her list.
It'd be a nice,
Oh, and well,
you know,
She's around and could, if
Right.
not.
while
we'll-
it's fresh in my memory, because I
sure.
do
If
have
that's
old
without
age.
objection, y'all okay with, if Lisa's available to come and participate in this? Maybe she's watching on, if she's available, if she's watching it, she's already in the conversation and.
I hope not.
No county business being done because all the supervisors are watching us.
Well, it's, a lot of them are sitting there working and they'll be listening
Yeah.
to it in the background.
And, you know, they
I
did
would
work
too,
hard.
if I-
They saved us a bunch of money on the disposal of those documents and the shredding. You know, they wound
Yeah.
up saving us about $20,000, so.
Plus, open up space that we didn't have to go looking for.
So we will just basically kind of
Suspend?
circle that number with the question mark till y'all kind of process what the impact will be and until we hear from Lisa before we finalize that. Any other questions in that department? We good? All right. Let's take 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
I agree. Coffee run.
Looks like next is public assistance.
I don't know how we can question any of that. It's a swag, isn't it, anyway?
Well, I was, yeah, it is, but there's a big difference in the request versus the proposed, about $500,000.
We had 875 in that line item this year, and we're going to spend every bit of it.
And as of right this minute, with, this year, we have spent 772.
I just bumped it up about 10%, basically, is what kind of where I came up with 965 there.
Yeah, but I'm
No,
looking
with
at
the
the total,
input-
the
with the-
total number
Yeah, the
at the
total
bottom.
is a lot less than they asked for, yeah. Which that was the same last year. They asked for
With the-
$1,200,000 or something last year, and we cut it back to 875.
With the improvement in the economy, hopefully public assistance will go down. I would feel comfortable with allocating what they had last year.
The aging population not increase that somewhat?
But also, John, in this is like adoption assistance, and there's some,
I'm just looking at public assistance, I'm not looking at the other.
well, that's part of
Yeah,
it.
those are all what goes into public assistance.
Correct. All those other categories is what all goes into the public assistance line item.
And of
Okay,
course,
well,
this is the same as everything else. We get roughly 50% of it reimbursed. So if you cut it 40,000, you're really only cutting the county portion about 20,000.
But you are going with an overall figure, I'm just
Yeah,
looking
I
at
didn't, I
that
didn't break it
portion.
down in my adopted.
Yeah.
I'll have to prorate it out there.
Okay. Now cremation services, actual was 343. So we had only one unclaimed body this year?
Yeah.
That varies.
And that actually wasn't, we only had to pay part of somebody. They had
Right.
some of it paid for some other method, and we only had to pay part of the cost on that one, so.
I'm comfortable,
5,000 would certainly be a big year.
but I'd rather to keep it in there and not use it than to lowball it, and then suddenly we're coming back with budget amendments.
With all budget amendments. 100% of them, if possible, in a perfect world. I know we're not there.
We had way too many this year. We're not going to have as many next year. Rework our strategy on that going forward, so.
Okay, $1,039,080 from beginning to end.
Medicaid line right there is Medicaid transportation. Just, I know it doesn't say that right there, but that's just a side note.
So that goes to Alleghany Cares, or Alleghany in Motion.
Right, it goes to Alleghany in Motion, that's right.
So we're paying ourselves.
Yes.
We good there?
Good.
Okay. Special adoption assistance, looks pretty,
Question.
is that adequate, covering everything?
It's a real specific category. Not very many things fit into that bucket, so.
Next one with numbers in it.
We need to, no, we gotta need to go back. The 10-6-19-0200, we have had, 6,000 budgeted there for numerous years. And in Lisa's request, she had asked for for 6,000. And it's tab number 28 in the notebook.
And there's been roughly that amount, well, 18 was 5977.50.
Council on Aging, I believe, actually does this, and they have gone over they're cutting off in-home aid at level 1 now. And they haven't completed the year. Need that
Or
minimum.
we back store that, or,
2,000.
well, I mean, if we want to do it, it's
Well, let's ask Lisa that question. I know there's a waiting list for that service. Now, if we allocate more money to, I don't know for a fact we can get more state money, so I guess we need to ask her that question maybe when she gets here. But I know there's a waiting list for that service. They come in and help folks, cleaning up their house and cooking their meals and stuff like that, so. That is one area, Bill, that the aging population will affect that line item right there.
It's basic housekeeping, subcontracted with services unlimited at $15 an hour.
don't want
Under
to,
Council on Aging, which is basically a pass-through, and then there's budgeted money from Council on Aging on that also.
don't want to defer that question to Lisa when she comes and see what the impact would be. Okay. Okay, next,
Same conversation on line item 10, 630-0050. In her explanation, she explains about the Work First Block Grant money in the amount of $1,800. I don't know. And you gotta go down.
And these are the same, these are roughly, so that we'll get some of that reimbursed as well.
Lisa question, or do we need to put that in there? Was it
That's not money-
overlooked, or
That's
what's-
not money out of our pocket, that's money in the bank, according to her explanation. Line item reflects the amount of Work First Block Grant money remaining after all staff time has been budgeted. These funds can be used for supportive services, as an example, school fees, car repairs, transportation, emergency assistance. Now, the way I read that, this is extra money from the grant. $630,0050.
Oh, I got you.
I believe that's an older grant that she received, and she's just carrying the money forward each year until she spends the money. We can verify that again when she comes.
The money is in the bank, but we've got to allocate it in case she needs it.
Don't think it's a new workforce grant every year. But we'll verify that with her.
She's still watching, she may not show up.
Anything else before county insurance? Any other? Okay. Any questions on insurance?
Actually, the county insurance figures are incorrect because we're adding additional personnel that you hadn't figured, correct?
Yeah, we'll have to add the, the additional half of a social worker position, yeah. But I'd included that in the $60,000 number I'd given you that I'd included insurance as part of that, so,
10,000 for the.
yeah. And we
Medical.
get half of it reimbursed, so,
And then
roughly.
retirement.
yeah.
You just got a rough figure that you go with.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll calculate the numbers here later on to the exact numbers.
Right now, we're swagging.
So moving over to the new in-ship pool has been very good for us through the first year. So, I know we've had four new counties or towns join the pool over the last few months.
The merrier.
Yeah, I mean, it's more spread the risk across,
Hopefully, they have younger employees.
Well, the eight charter members, 6 of us had a great year. 1 of us had an okay year, 1 of us had a bad year, but as a whole, the pool's done very well. We were hoping to end the year with $3 million in reserves, and we have almost 5 right now with a month to go. So we've had a very good year. Our claims have been great. We could have squeezed it and held our premium flat for the year. We decided to increase it 2% just to build up a little more reserve in case we have a bad year. Because as small as we are, we're 1 open heart surgery claim away from, having a 25% increase for everybody's premium. So we want to build up a little reserve there. So we're building some up this year, and we'll build a little more up this next year, hopefully. So.
You're going to keep it at roughly 2%?
Well, it depends on how the claims go. If we have another year like this year, we'll probably be flat next year. If we can do as well this year as we did, as we have done the last 11 months, we'll probably be able to be flat next year.
Or you could have 2 claims in 1 year and you just don't know.
No, we don't know.
It's better to be a little bit safer.
I know the town of Wake Forest is the only one in the pool that did better than us, and they actually could have had a 5% drop in their premium. They decided to stay flat and build up some reserve because they have about 200 employees. They're a little bigger than us, but same way, we're all one big claim away from skewing our numbers tremendously.
With after what we've added on so far employees, what will that total number be for the county for us? The total number of employees with what we've already added on,
Be
115.
120-ish?
Yeah, around 120, yeah. 122, 123, somewhere in there. Full-time.
Broke them out, did.
Seems like we keep adding 1 or 2 every year, so in the long run, that adds up when
It
the
does.
retirement hits and
Yeah. And when they all retire, and that's going to be another hit somewhere down the road as well, so.
I can get rid of a couple of board members. Reduce it a little bit. You on the list?
I'll volunteer.
Well, I say we could furlough county commissioners, one per meeting, so.
Look out.
Then we can have some 2-2 ties, that'll make things exciting.
You can get another half a case of paper or something.
Motion fails in the event of a tie, so,
Okay. So, grand total of 1,749,202. Well, with
the-
a
It's
little
actually
bit
gonna
of
be more than
addition
that.
to a .5.
Yes.
Okay. So that, we'll circle that, and question mark on the head. That will be some of our, to the list information at our next meeting. Okay. Some payments. Can we take any of those off? Can we do away with any of those? Is there any leeway there, or?
Can we
That's pretty
default
much
on
it.
anything?
No, we're paying off one loan this year, and then starting back with the new $900,000 loan payments, it's kind of a wash there.
What's the QSCB 2009? What is that?
I don't remember what it stands for.
QSCAB.
QSCAB is new school construction. QZAB is renovations of an existing school, but I don't remember what they stand for. Qualified something bonds.
qualified school construction bonds and qualified zone academy bonds. Yeah.
So the QZAB 2017, 91,000, that was our recent renovations at Sparta School. The QZAB right above that, that was several schools that we renovated a few years back. The QSCAB was for, was that the Glade Creek Water and Sewer? Or
It was, yeah.
one of those was, yeah, so. They're basically the same, they're basically zero interest loans, but it's just, it's different category. If it's a new construction or if it's a renovation of an existing building.
We do get monies back on the QSCAB that he's on right now, the 2010 loan. We do get monies back from the IRS, and because when that loan was taken out, the tax laws were written where the 0% was not available, so we have a minimal interest on that. But at the same time, there was laws in about we would get refunded that back from the IRS. So that's not a true, you'll see on your revenue side, there's an amount there. And the schools are responsible for paying the difference to us as well.
That show up in the audit next year
It shows up every year as a normal revenue.
under revenue.
Yeah, it's been like this since the loan was taken out in 2010.
It's a couple $1,000s, something like that, so.
All right. Don't think we can help that any. So. Well, I mean, we could, but not today.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Education.
In the school, we give them exactly the same amount as, having the same amount as last year, it's just they won't be reimbursing us $60,000 for the school resource officers. So it's the same amount of money in their pocket. That's where that number comes from.
Money in there they asked for as far as the tennis courts, is that in the,
Excuse me?
the money they'd asked for tennis courts? Is that in this?
That is not in there.
Okay.
So that would be coming out of the outdoor recreation fund. I mean, doesn't have to, but you could pay it out of general fund if you want to, but I would not recommend, if we do it, I would recommend it come out of the outdoor recreation fund. But no, that's not in there.
Okay.
They had not requested it at the time we put the budget packet together, so.
The questions?
I know that they asked for a lot more, my meetings with Chad and with Brent, they were, comfortable with the same amount of money this year. Obviously, if we give them more money, they can do more things, but they were comfortable with the flat budget, so. And the school, the $517,000, that's simply a percentage of sales tax revenue. So that probably will wind up being more because we'll probably get more sales tax than we budget, hopefully, so.
Other questions? Line item with data is bank service fees, or was? I think that's really
That is
been-
now over in finance.
Okay, all right. And that whole process has kind of been worked on and retooled and. We're special appropriation.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Library, we'll go down through these one by one. Regional Library, any concerns, questions?
Do we have a tab on what that's broken down?
Yep.
It is tab number 33 in the binder.
Looks like the biggest increase is salaries.
It's payroll expenses plus their health insurance. I was trying to get them onto the in-chip plan, but the way the statute's written, they're not eligible, so they're still on their own for insurance, so.
On the regional
Yeah, there's
library,
40 employees
Yeah.
roughly in that group,
which
something like that.
does help them in being a better pool than, I would think, anyway.
Okay, I'm
86,
okay.
68, we good with that? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Health District,
Remember, we, 3 county managers, we met with health department board members and director last year and kind of put them on a 3-year ramp-up plan to get them, solvent's not the right word, to get them back to a break-even budget. They'd been massively dipping into their reserve, and that's our prorated portion, about a little less than $20,000. It's $20,000, it hurts, but we get a great bargain with the regional health department. And I know the next region down the mountain, that regional health department, I forget what it's called, River or something, there's a lot of turmoil there, and there may be some things coming up later on there, but we can't, it cost us double, at
certainly
least that
couldn't
to do
do
it on us
what
as
they're
standalone.
doing on our own
Yeah.
for this kind of
Yeah,
money.
leveraging Watauga in the health region really helps, because they're so much bigger, and they pay a big chunk of the cost. And we have a clinic here, and they don't have a clinic there. Darren reminds me of that every year at around this time, but we get good benefit. I got my physical at the health department last year. They came in and did our employee, what do we call it? Health screenings, or whatever, is that what
Yep.
we call it? So, to get around, for the wellness requirements, and that was good for the health department. Everybody got their blood work, and they got some paying customers, so it was good benefit for everybody as well, so.
Are we anticipating maybe hearing kind of a report from them or a visit from them? It would be kind of, I think, good to,
Yeah.
for the public to hear. Okay. Any other questions there?
Jen was here with their annual report, I think in March, I believe, but we'll have her back sooner than that,
Yeah.
the next month or two.
Right. Mental facility?
Now, this is going to be subject to who we vote to go with, is it not?
No, that's going to be, it's based on population and services. Our fee will be the same, whether it's via or.
No matter
partners.
who's doing it,
Yeah.
our fee's going to be
Yeah.
the same. So we have no recourse there.
No, and then switching wouldn't save us money or cost us more money.
Okay.
If we decide to do that down the road.
Just what they've picked up in the last few years in their dental health to all the school systems.
The health department, yeah.
I mean, that's been a plus to the county, to the young people, just that part of it.
Of course, both versions of the budget, the House budget and the Senate budget, both have significant reductions in the mental health allocations to the MCOs. So that's not going to get any better, but,
What's this new?
the state of North Carolina has not made mental health a priority.
The executive or the legislative level?
Facility is 0. I guess that's still going to remain that way.
Rock is only up $100. I don't see any, you can't argue with that.
No, it's just a small local match there that we have with their funding.
DOA, Council on Aging. $37.
This does not count none of the construction costs for the new facility are in there. That's simply their operating appropriation from us.
I have no objections.
A well-run program,
Yes.
very beneficial and growing. So,
Reminds me, the LGC approved our loan application yesterday, so
Thank
Okay.
you.
that reminds me, so.
Good. So when we breaking ground?
We'll start
Next week?
putting it out to bid now, so.
We're gonna do
'Cause we're not closing the loan with BB&T for a couple more weeks, but
Exactly.
I'm excited about that project, so.
all right. Any other questions on Council on Aging? We good? Council on Aging?
Yeah, just one, they have $6,000 in the fuel and the gas logs. Supposedly, we may be able to move by January or February or March or April, whatever. The new place will be all electric, or is it going to be propane, or have we even talked about the possibility of solar panels or any wind power? I just know that right now, the fuel tank, the oil tank, whether we keep it or remove it, I think Josh is recommending going to electric if we make it the courthouse. I'm just curious as to what's going to happen with this $6,000 if we're only going to use half of it or
A
something.
little shift to electric or whatever the new.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we're-
this,
Go ahead.
well, I was just starting to say, though, that what this is our agreement with Council on Aging is we pay, this includes their water, their electricity, and their propane, and we pay the bill, and then they reimburse us half of their expense. So that's what that is. So they'll still have, even in the new building, they'll still have their utility expense that they'll have to reimburse us half.
Hopefully it'll be reduced.
Less, probably.
You should see it.
We don't know
The
that.
actual cost is 12,000, or is it 6,000 and they reimburse us half?
Theirs is probably gonna be closer, their light bill off the top of my head runs, a couple $100. I can actually send, I can send the office an email and ask them to look right quick for me and tell me how much it is, if you'd like for me to.
They're moving to a new building, but it should be much more energy efficient than that old building, so hopefully there shouldn't be an increase. At a minimum, there shouldn't be much of an increase in utilities, and hopefully they'll go
It's going to
down.
be a larger square footage.
Yeah, but a much more energy efficient
More
building.
efficient equipment and building.
Mhm.
And then I would think it would even come down with the courtroom because of usage will be a lot less. So it'll wash itself out somewhere down the road.
But, I mean, while we're at it though, I would just like for us to look at doing some external green heating at the new building if possible, as solar or wind. I know the high school's just put in a big solar panel up at the football field. I don't know if there's grant money out there for something like that, or, but that
Possibly.
doesn't have anything to do with this, but I think
Yeah.
we ought to consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there could be something out there, maybe some solar panels on the roof or something like that, possibly, so.
With Blue Ridge RC&D, there's, Jonathan's involved with some projects or some monies and grants. I don't know if its focus is farmer operations or county, if it can be county, whatever, but I think we should maybe flesh that question out and see if there's some programs out there that wouldn't cost us more than it's worth doing.
I just know at graduation, that windmill, I thought it was going to come out of the ground.
All right, so we're at 150, 195 for Council on Aging. Arts Council, request is 6, proposed is 0.
Yep.
And we have Mike DuBose coming on the 18th, representing the Arts Council. We did 6,000 last year. Okay. Comments?
Like a number as it is.
There again, that's where if we get if the county gives so much, we get that grant application is approved from the state. That money that comes from the state,
That's correct.
Yeah.
yeah.
The county money is used as a matching portion to a state grant.
I have nothing against the Arts Council. We'd love to fund everything. I recommended zero there, but certainly that's worthwhile organization. And it does leverage more money, you know.
Well, I think we'll let it stand, and Mike's coming to present on the 18th, so we'll hear him and revisit that if anybody wants to.
Wasn't there some talk several months ago about that music on Main falling under Arts Council? Has that changed?
Lots of conversation.
Music on Main has changed leadership over the last year. And I can't remember if it was the old group or the new group that was talking about going in with the Arts Council, because they were sort of an orphan for a while. They nobody, yeah,
There was some conversation, I didn't know where they ended up.
yeah.
Switch to the new group.
Well, good with that. We'll leave it as is and hear the presentation and revisit if interested. That's okay. All right. Reval fund.
This number, the good thing is we started spending some of that money we've been putting away. You know, we bought the new vehicle out of the fund, and because we're heading towards reval now. We'll have enough in there to cover the current reval. Now, we are going to 6 years, and then to 4 years, so we may have, in future years, we may have to bump that number. But it's still good for next year.
We're good for now. Any concerns? We good there? Okay. Fire departments. Sparta. Requested and proposed is the same.
Bobby had asked to get a roster of the firemen at each fire department. Drew's working on it, I know. We don't have them all yet, so we're still working on that, so.
Wouldn't finance have that when they're based on the payment that you're making for workman's comp and insurance?
For the departments that have turned in their reimbursement request, yes, but we don't have them for all of the departments, no.
The fire departments, I didn't cut anybody's. I gave everybody exactly what they asked for. Couple of them did ask for less than they got last year, and that's okay. I confirmed with them all that this is the number that they need.
What do you mean?
Well,
We didn't cut anybody.
I didn't change anybody. Some of them didn't fill out their form correctly, and so if you look at the requested from county, some people didn't hit the right number there. I talked to all the chiefs and confirmed the amount that they need.
So
And
your
that's the
proposed number,
That's
you
exactly
had a
what they need.
conversation
Yeah.
with each one of them on
Yeah.
your proposed
Yeah.
number.
I know the rescue squad and Glade Creek Fire Department, that total request from county, they put a total expenses, not a total requested from county on that line, so it looked like, so their request is a whole lot more than what I'm recommending, but that was simply because there's some ambiguity in the form and they didn't fill it out exactly correctly, so.
Right now, does this figure include the 10,000 that they received last year, with the exception of Piney Creek? Because if we do that, we're going over our threshold, and they're going to lose on their grant money.
It's exactly what I think it's, most of them is exactly what we're giving them this year. Or, I mean, it does include the 10,000, although Piney Creek didn't need all the 25 we gave them last year, but it does include that, yeah. So we just have to, when we go above 50, we just have to call it expense reimbursement. We'll send us light bills and things like that, and we'll just do expense reimbursement.
Comfortable with that,
so.
Karen?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Because I don't want them to lose the grant money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
folks in
okay.
Raleigh at the insurance board told me. It's completely don't ask, don't tell. on that. So just don't call it a straight-up appropriation, and you can call it anything else you want to. So that's why we do have them actually send us some bills to justify the amount over 50,000 there.
Okay.
Is there any way that the request forms can be filled out the same by each fire department? Some of them, I don't know if it's misunderstanding or what, but some list FICA, some list hospital insurance in one group, some don't list it in that group, they list it in another group. It looks to me like there could be some consistency with these 5 fire departments to list everything the way that it's supposed to be listed.
Yeah, for the rest of the board, Bobby and I have had a couple of conversations about that recently, and I think that we do need a separate, going next year, I think we'll need a slightly different form just for the fire departments, not the same as the other organizations. Particularly if we decide to go with the fire tax, we need a little more,
It's going to go away.
we don't need a one-size-fits-all form. Well, I mean, they're still going to have to send us some documentation. If they're going to ask for a
I think it's
3-cent
gonna
tax in their
change.
district, we're going to have some documentation as to
We're going to have their
what they're
budget.
going to do with it. But we need a different form, I think, for the fire departments going forward, I
And
think.
if everybody's filling out the same form, it's easy to compare one department to another to the other. But the way these are filled out, takes a lot just to figure them out.
It does, and, some of them spend a lot of time, and some of them don't spend as much time, and, I
But
don't know what to say
they're
about
asking
that,
for a
so.
lot of money, so that, to me, they should be able to be consistent.
So, y'all good with the proposed
I am.
Sparta, Piney Creek, Lake Creek, Laurel Springs, Cherry Lane numbers?
Yes.
Without objection, okay. Fire Commission, is that a new number? New ask?
Yes, that'll be the 14,000 for the district drawings that we
Oh, wait,
voted for
wait.
the other day.
Wait. I'm just looking at one line. I had the rest of them covered, sorry. Okay. All good on the Fire Commission?
We do have an increase on that.
We generally don't spend all that line item either, so.
Is the 25,000 in there for Piney this year?
Well,
Talked about
we
last
approved
year.
it for this year's budget,
They never asked
but I
for
know
a
on
bill.
an accrual basis, I don't know if they'll be done, so, I don't know. That's
that.
probably a question for the auditor on that.
We're having a discussion about the allocation that you all approved a couple meetings ago about the mapping the fire districts.
And that, we said that we would put it on this year's budget, not last year's.
Okay.
The 2019,
Okay.
2020.
Okay.
So we need to add in that line item an additional 14,000. So it would bring it to 146.7.
In the Fire Commission, what is the $25,000 insurance redistribution, or I can't read what it is?
Insurance reimbursement.
So we reimburse them for their workers' comp insurance.
We have an accident policy and a workers' comp policy that we actually will reimburse them if they will turn in their receipts to us. That's where John was asking, didn't we have a copy of the roster? Because that's one of the things they have to turn in to us with that, is a copy of their roster to get those reimbursements.
And what is VSIS 12,000?
Retirement. There's a small retirement plan for the volunteer firemen, and after 20 years, they get like $300
And that's
a
split
month or
between the
something.
5?
Yeah, that's total for everybody, yeah.
And that's also on a reimbursement basis as well.
And then we reimburse 75,000 for utilities, or what, I think it's utilities. If 75,000,
Me.
What line are you looking at there, Bobby?
7.5 thousand. Wait,
7,500, not 75,000.
7.5K.
on the same page at the insurance, 25,000's on, same page, it's their request, fire safety materials was 4,000, fire training for
That is a
propane.
total,
Then it
because I
was,
don't have that.
the last item they asked was 75,000 for utility reimbursement.
First and last.
That page.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That number is not reflected in the numbers that you're looking at on the screen.
Yeah, those numbers, that adds up to more than 132,000, so.
I mean, I was just wondering, each fire department asked for utility cost, and then we're
But-
giving them 75,000 more.
I recall there had been, no, because it's not up here in the numbers that's on the screen.
That was
There
the
had
way
been
we-
some conversations that I recall about another way to potentially assist the departments would have been to reimburse them for their utility expense.
Did we ever get to see a utility, the bills from the utility company? Or do we just give them, split the 75,000?
We haven't started it
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't done it yet. That would be a reimbursement, though. We would have to, that would be on a reimbursement basis.
With the fire tax?
Yeah.
And there was a period there that didn't transfer whenever we did the copying. It was 7.5K. And I believe
7,500, not 75,000.
7,500. And I believe that was also one way that we were going to get around the
Your
10,000 that we gave
That's what
the,
it is, but that's wrong.
Departments.
What they're saying, it should have been 7,500.
7,500?
Yeah. And you can see historically, we never spend all that, we never get all the reimbursement, we never spend it all. We appropriate, we generally only spend about 2/3 of what's in that line item historically. So not everybody gets their grants, not everybody gets their reimbursements turned in, that kind of thing, so. But
If you go back and add up the numbers, did you put in 75,000 or 7,500?
I didn't put
didn't
in
put any
either.
in.
One of the reasons I didn't put in either is because when the requests were sent to the departments, in the letter that I'd sent out, I asked them for more information on utilities and things like that. What I received is what you see in your book. So I didn't get a lot of information, so I didn't put the utility money in the fire commission.
that was something thrown out as a possibility for funding, but we haven't gotten enough information in to actually do that yet, so.
Actually-
For the utilities in each fire department.
Well, we were going to give it to the fire commission, which is separate from all the fire departments, so that we could get around the maximum support from the
Grant, yeah.
county
Correct.
to help them with the grants. So we basically double dipped there, so.
But right
we
now,
took it
it's
out.
in the individual fire department's appropriations, not in that, so that's where it is, but we may move it to the fire commission. That's a possibility, so.
And the money there for the parade and general expenses, that's where they buy the fire training material for the kids. You'll see them with their little plastic hats and everything. And that is to pay for the parade, reimbursement for the fuel parade and giving out those kits. And I don't believe that generally, we only use that money about every other year for the kids. Whenever we buy in a volume that is such that we will get 2 years' worth and save some money on that. The propane, it all depends on how much training they're going to do out at the fire training facility. I don't believe we had to refill last year. So that money generally is not spent also.
So it'd be a hard number for you to ask the fire departments what the actual utility cost is per year.
It's in the budget.
I mean, they should be able to add it up.
A lot of them already have it over here underneath their each tab under utilities.
Yes, I mean, some have it listed, some don't. That's
I can
what
go
I'm
back and
saying.
ask them again. I asked them originally, but I can go back and ask them again, yes, if you would like for me to.
That's what I say, if we have a standard form,
Yeah.
it would be easy to look.
We're not reimbursing it.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Okay.
The 25,000 that was appropriated last year, talked about for Piney Creek this year, is that in here, where does that stand?
It is not in there. I confirmed with Larry that 47,000 is what they need this year.
Yeah, but I think he was thinking that the 25 was coming, because it was talked about last year, to be brought out this year. Was that not the way that went?
I thought haven't you met your goal at this point?
Getting close, getting
Okay.
close, yeah. It's like some of the others in a cost overrun
I
situation.
mean, I'm 98% confident my conversation with Larry was I confirmed they don't need that 25,000, but we can double check that to
Okay,
be
yeah.
sure, so.
I wasn't aware of that. We can double check, yeah.
All right, any other questions? So we're gonna leave fire commission at 132.7 plus the 14? Okay.
And I'll just make one other
Did you
little-
add that in there?
Yes.
146.7.
And I'll just add one comment about where John was talking about the general expense, like for the fire parade. In the past, we've also utilized that $4,000 for, one time we purchased everybody one of the big wall maps with the new road names on it and stuff. So, several years ago, when 911 system got put in place, purchased a fax machine for each fire department. So my point is, we utilize this money for additional things that each of the fire departments and rescue squad can use as well.
Which will go away if we get the fire tax.
The fire commission department will go away, or the fire commission line item. We will, if we do the fire tax, we'll have a new fund. Fire tax money will go in there and the appropriations will come out. We'll have to approve that budget like we approved the budget for every fund. It just won't be in this particular line item anymore.
All right, moving along to fire control forestry. Any qualms, questions, concerns? I'll take that as an okay. Silence gives consent. Rescue squad,
Rescue squad, you spoke with the rescue squad. They are anticipating $33,000 to $36,000 extra expense this year because they cannot go to the hospital and get supplies back. So the rescue squad this is really affecting them.
I mean, I met with Carol in my office for probably a half hour, and we went over his budget, and 45,000, that was the number that he needed from the county. He did not fill out his form correctly there. And then I threw in $300 a game for the 10 football games they're going to work, so that's where the 48,000 comes from. And that was to reimburse them for any medical supplies they use during the ball games and stuff like that, so,
good with the four.
yeah.
Any other questions? Hospital,
We, pending a discussion with them, I'm good with it.
okay. Planning committee,
Basically, that's salaries for the board, is it not? Electric. Okay.
You have a building?
It's a match of funding there.
Yeah, that's,
The second page of their item, they get asking 1,500 from the town, whatever they raise from the Hillbilly Show, and then donations. And this is just another emergency utility assistance in addition to the LEAP we have through social services.
this is, they basically provide, raise money for Brock, and I think the talent show is
Hillbilly
their,
Show,
the
yeah.
Hillbilly Show is their biggest event. And this all goes back into helping the community needs. The questions on that? Oops, comments?
Now, we could,
Best was 212, 622. The proposed is 195, 622.
Yeah, we cut it back, since the welding diesel mechanic center was not going to be finished, that staff position, that came out of their request.
What about the money that we set aside or approved, the grant money that we had to match? What's happened to that?
Well, we had, Dr. Cox and his team had gone back and done some surveys in the high school about, what classes do students want, working with employers, trying to figure out what we need to offer. And they're still, I know the surveys were done 2 or 3 weeks ago, but that we have not gotten a new plan from them as to what that money needs to be spent on at this point. So it's still, we've paid it already a couple of budgets ago, and it's still sitting there, 100 and,
What happens to the grant money? Not our match, but the grant money.
I understand it is still reserved, but it has not been drawn down, my impression. So if we don't use it, we'll have to give it back, and then they'll have to return our match on it. So they're trying to figure out a new plan to come to us with for whatever the expansion needs to be out there.
That grant money can't be used for anything else.
Well, it can be, there are several different things it can be used for. Their most popular classes in Alleghany County now are the law enforcement related classes, criminal justice classes. The student surveys came back, animal sciences and animal services got the most votes in their survey, so that's like, farming techniques and things like that. So they're going to come back to us with a new plan as to how to spend that money at this point, so.
And that money can't be used to fix the roof over the college.
It could pay for a portion of that, I understand, or at least that was a couple of plans ago, but.
My understanding is
That
it
wasn't going to be
couldn't.
eligible? Okay.
There's no lease agreement with the college, is there? Year to year?
We have an agreement. We have a lease agreement, yeah.
Is it a year to year? Is it 20 years or 40 years?
I don't think it's year to year. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head either.
My understanding, it has to be a minimum of 20 years, and the state prefers 40 years. But I thought that we virtually don't charge college much for rent, do we?
No, we don't charge them anything.
$25.
$1 or
Yeah.
something, or nothing?
No. Yeah. So they're going to come back to us sometime in the next month or 2 or 3 with a new plan for how we're going to spend that $225,000. Of course, the Alamo position is we do nothing. They return our $75,000 and they return the $150,000 of grant money to the state. We don't want to do that, but we'd rather have a budget around $225,000 for some kind of project enhancement out there, but we're still waiting on them to come back to us with a new proposal.
That money's, for the grant was for capital outlay, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was to build that
Repair,
build that new diesel garage
Yeah.
originally.
or it could be used for repair or maintenance. I think it'd be curious to see what they're gonna
Yeah.
recommend, what happens to that money.
Yeah, I'm anxiously awaiting that as well. Because the community college, the enrollment's continuing to grow there. It's a good facility with more potential. So, and of course, we want to, as a parent, the cheapest way to get your children college education is send them right there to Wilkes, and you can, there's plenty of jobs. You can come out of community college and make 60,000, or go to 4-year college and come out making 30,000 a lot of times. So,
And they're remodeling the basement, or,
yeah, that they've got set it up now for construction classes, electrical wiring and HVAC and things like that. They've got the whatever you call them, the dummy setups down there to do HVAC and electrical now. Those classes actually start in July. They're starting in summer session down there, so that they're pretty much done with that now. And that may be the way to go. We certainly, good tradesmen in the county are hard to find, like they are everywhere. Good electricians, good plumbers. I would say good HVAC. But I don't want to offend anybody here at the table.
Welders, mechanics,
Car mechanics, yeah, those are good ones.
diesel mechanics. No, that's why you can't.
One thing I'd like to note on Wilkes Community College is we do have a new memorandum of understanding that Susan Nilo has sent to Josh and myself for the custodial maintenance services, that they will reimburse the county $6,700, and that is included in the revenue side. So I just wanted to throw that out just to let y'all know that there's something in place on that.
All right, any
I
other
think it'd be a
questions?
good time to take 5.
Are we in agreeance on that number?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do the next one. On what? What'd you say? Oh, yeah. Well, let's do the next one. It looks like it's pretty easy.
The next two are pretty easy, actually. So.
Yeah.
Alleghany connections and the fireworks, no questions.
But you want to expand the budget and have a bigger fireworks show next year. So. Because this would be money for the July 4th of 2020 fireworks.
Alleghany Lights was going to pick it up, but they didn't want to do it on the date they wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to add to it, make it
Yeah.
longer, and I think the town does some money with this, and I
Town
think
pays the other
if you add
half,
it-
yeah.
If you look at the statistics, if you get it too long, you start to take away from it too, so. But anyway, take 5, without objection.
No objection.
Bill's question about the Piney Creek money, the request last year they made to us, or the commitment was 50,000. We did half last year and was planning to do the other half this year. And Bill's concerned that Mike and Larry are on the same page. Larry, did you talk to Larry when we broke?
I did.
And
And
Go
he
ahead.
was explaining how it was last year that they asked for the 50, and Bobby made a suggestion maybe, or somebody did 25 last year, 25 this year. He was confused a little bit in the budget versus the 25,000.
Okay. So you do need that.
We do need the 25,000, and
Okay.
if that could be worked back in
For this,
for this year.
yeah, that's,
The
I mean, that
original
was
amount was
earned-
50.
that was
So
the
that would bring it-
understanding last year,
Right,
50.
right.
71,326.
where is,
Or went to any,
so back up to Piney Creek, if we do what we had committed to last year, which, I mean, we can't obligate next year's money, but that's the decision on the table now, and Bill did talk to Larry, and he, I think, assumed that money was still coming.
Right.
Is that it?
that would
Is
bring
that
it
the math?
71,326. No, 81,326. Well, the county manager said 47,253. So if we add 25 to that, that's going to be 72,253.
What we want?
It was a commitment made by the county.
Bill wasn't part of that commitment, so I guess we need to get him.
Yeah, no, but Bill, I don't want Bill to find a cross burning in his front yard Monday night either.
Me neither, John, me neither.
Okay.
Yes.
This was the building facility.
You can build a fire department out of tar and chip.
You can.
Okay,
The rough bunch.
now, let's digress to JCPC.
What is it?
Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Most of that money is state money. The local portion of that money is,
The revenue is 57.6, and the expense is 67.9, so it's about 12.5 roughly is the county portion of that.
and just for the public, for the board, what do they do?
They have programs for, basically it's for at-risk juveniles or recent juvenile offenders as different, people that get probation and things like that. We just approved a new program, actually, we had to put a lot of money to Project Challenge, and those kids were cleaning up the courthouse, doing weed eating and stuff like that. Problem is, so many of the offenders were so young now, that we can't have a 13-year-old cleaning up the courthouse or weed eating. That's just not, so we're looking for some new programs. Just approved a new group out of Asheville that's in several counties. It's going to be some culinary training, so they're going to teach them, culinary skills as part of their rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it. They've had great success in other counties. We're putting some money in there, and then also, what's it called? What in schools? Opportunity in Schools, or what's the name of that group? They have someone at the Sparta school that counsels kids that are at risk and things like that. Communities in
Communities,
Schools.
that's right.
Communities in
We
Schools
thought it
is the
was
name of the
same.
organization. They have a full-time person in the Sparta school that works with the at-risk youth as
A lot
well.
of them in the food closet as well,
Mhm.
helping out down there.
Yeah.
We've got some weeds that need to be pulled up to fairgrounds.
I know, I said we keep having 13, 14-year-old offenders. We realize there's too much liability to have them out there with power tools and things like that, you know? So we've had to look for some
Give them a
different
power tool, give them a
opportunities.
sling, don't let them, give them a machete.
So the board, we had some presentations, and the board really liked, and board really liked this new culinary program, so they can learn some vocational skills as well as, you know, work off restitution and things like, they can work so many hours and work off some of their restitution as well. So we're very excited about this new program, and the exact name of it is escaping me right now, but it's a group out of Asheville, and they're in about 6 counties right now. Henderson County, Buncombe County, a few others down in that area. But the county match is about 12, around 12.5.
20% is the required match.
Those programs are working real well through the system.
Other questions?
You have one before we move on down to the Wellness Center. On line item 10-690-9088, CSC fines and forts. That is the mandated portion of the fines and forts from the clerk of courts to go to the schools. $30,000 is what is in the revenue side. And so I say, you know, at least we start there. And then as in this year, if we get in more money, we'll just come back and do a budget amendment to offset it.
Get whatever it is, they get it.
That's exactly
I
right.
mean, that's state
Right,
rules.
correct.
That is in the revenue side?
It's in my notes, yeah. Let me find it right quick.
So, change that to 30. Adding 3 lines up there. So, CSC facility fees, officer fees, and jail fees.
Oh, you're on your revenue side?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the
Okay.
revenue for that.
It's line item number 10-337 and a bunch of zeros.
I got you. Okay. All right, I see. We match those two up?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay with the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I see Miss Lisa made it. I understand you were,
Entertain.
had staying abreast of the conversation. We'll rewind here and have 2 or 3 areas to talk. You, maybe the mic will pick you up if you just want to sit there.
It won't.
We just got word that it wouldn't.
Get you in the mic for
If you
the
don't
recording,
mind,
so.
just come up to the mic, because, yeah.
Either
Whatever
one.
you'd like.
You got one there?
Well, I was gonna turn it around.
All right,
Do you want to come over here?
yeah, just, we'll try that. I test that.
Can you hear me now?
He's got you. You're good. You got a
The
thumbs up.
voice from the great beyond. That's a little creepy.
We had a conversation, we'll start with the first conversation, which was the positions. You had asked for 3, and the manager had proposed 1.5, one at the beginning of the year, one halfway, which is 2 at the end of the year. And right now, we're starting out with 2. So speak to that and how that would impact you. Could you manage with those 2? And what would that look like for you? And then maybe pick up I guess at that point, the 3rd one next year. Or, I mean, we would obviously always entertain a request through the year, but we would rather budget where we think we're going to need to be to start with. So speak to that if you,
Can we find the people? You know, you got 1 replacement too, so you'd be looking.
that'll
for
make you 3 people you're going to be looking
Can we
for.
find them?
Well, I have 3 people interested right now, 2 in-house and 1 I know outside of the agency currently that are interested in social work positions. And 2 of those positions I've asked for are social work, and the other is an income maintenance supervisor. Because if I put 2 additional social workers under, I have 2 services supervisors currently. One is at max capacity. All she is recommended to supervise is 5 social workers, and she has that. The other services supervisor has 1 social worker under her. So the 2 new social workers I would have to put under her, but in doing so, she is already supervising 4 programs. So if I'm adding 2 people, I need to take at least 2 of those eligibility programs she currently supervises and move them under an income maintenance eligibility supervisor. So that was the reason in asking.
She's currently doing 4, and you would need to move part of that load off to someone else for
Yes.
this 3rd position.
Yes. And I don't want to kill my current income maintenance supervisor by adding 2 more programs to her when she already has all of Medicaid and all of food and nutrition. So I would be adding daycare subsidy and Medicaid transportation. So that would be the reason for the income maintenance supervisor. Does that make sense?
The 3rd ask.
Yes. Because a services supervisor can only supervise 5 social workers. So I would have 5 under one and 3 under another.
Is 5 a recommendation from the state or federal?
Yes.
Or mandate?
Recommendation. All of them are recommended. All of the caseload sizes for services are recommended.
If we're not at the recommended level, what's the potential?
The potential is only if something happens. If something were to happen and our staff were found to be negligent in some form or fashion, then the state will come in and penalize us. They will not, they have the option to take over. I don't think that would happen, but they have that option. They also have the option to recommend to you all additional staff or make recommendations in other forms or fashion. They can't make you do anything unless they take us over. They also can withhold funding if it's at that point. Now, do I think that will happen? No. I know that years past, we had a child fatality in the county, and we had recommended an additional social work position. And the state stepped in and reviewed that fatality and recommended to the Board of Commissioners at that time that we get additional staff to help offset. So because it was a substance abuse matter and staff had not reviewed hospital drug tests and that type of thing, so.
Everything with social services is the economy is really good right now, and our needs are continuing to increase there. So when and if a recession comes, and it's inevitable, Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, and another recession is inevitable. What are our needs going to be then? You know, that's things that keep me awake at night. But that's down the road. But so the economy's really good right now. We just have more and more foster kids, more and more public assistance needs.
And I
LEAP
will-
money goes like that. You know.
I will say the income maintenance supervisor, if it's made a food nutrition supervision, that's 75% reimbursement.
How much?
75% salary reimbursement.
What were we really talking about that was 45 to 55?
Well, I was just saying, as a general rule, everything in social services, call it a 50%, just as a general rule. Because again, it's based on what job they perform, what task. And a lot of our people are doing 3 different types of cases. So if they spend 2 hours on this case, that's 50%. If they spend 2 hours on this case, it's 30% reimbursement, it's so on. So, but 50% is just a guideline.
As an average?
Yeah.
What, is this driven by what? Foster care, Medicaid? What's driving this?
Foster care.
Okay, what happens, 3 years ago, we were down at 11 or 12, the number was really low.
Yes,
Now the number's really high,
yes. 49 in care.
or 48, 49. Now, what happens in a year from now if the numbers reverse? Back down to 20 or 25? Do we let somebody go?
Can't predict the future, I don't know. I think there would be a significant, I don't see that foster care number declining until we get a hold on the opioid and drug problem, and I see that years down the road. I don't see that being an easy, quick fix. So,
On the rise.
it will be way beyond our time before those numbers go down.
Aging population is going
Is
to go up on the other
increasing.
side as far as, elderly care.
Yeah.
Or elder abuse.
Yes, exactly. And right now, our adult social worker is doing children's services, but she's drowning. She has, she's just drowning because the adult population and needs are increasing to the point that she can't do both. So in adding the 2 social work positions, I would take the children's part off of her so that she could strictly focus on adults.
This third position would be reimbursed at 75%, is that what I understand?
Yes, because it would primarily be food nutrition supervision, but it would also be daycare subsidy. So a portion of the time is going to be 75%. It's going to be like Mike said, then it'll go back to when they're doing daycare supervision, it's going to be spread. So it'll be back to the 40 to 50%.
What about the possibility of bringing that in as a 0.5, meaning adding it halfway through the year? Would
I think that's very,
that help,
yes.
but not be, not, you don't think that first 6 months would create enough burden or stress to lose anybody before you get to the 6 months into it?
Well, the plan already is that I'm going to take on daycare subsidy because I anticipated at least 1 social work position. So I'm going to take on the supervision of daycare subsidy. So I'm going to take that off. The Medicaid, the income maintenance supervisor I have now, she is helping me. She is going to help me with Medicaid transportation. So she and I together are going to do that. So we could do that for 6 months. And
We're looking at 2 right now.
2 is what we've reached a unanimous consent on, and she's asked for 3, and kind of the third one is the one we're sort of
But
debating how, if, and how.
at 2, though, you could handle everything. With you taking over part of it and,
well, no, I don't want to do that. To be quite blunt, no, I need all 3 of those positions. It's a trickle-down effect, and it's very hard to explain.
A domino. If
It
you-
is.
If you affect a couple here and
If I add
bring
2 to 1, I've
more into
got,
supervision, you've got to share and split the load and
Yeah.
manage things differently, and,
But you-
and I would not feel comfortable with, I mean, you're in charge. You're running the whole program over there
We
and
can't load
making
her down
sure
with
that's,
tasks.
and if we my feelings is if we let you try to get too far down in the day-to-day stuff, maybe something gets neglected or some training or some challenges. And I mean, I know you're willing, but I'm not sure it's the right ask for the director to be too far down in the programs and things and getting, I mean, you only have so much ability and time and focus and, you know, as humanly possible. I'm just not sure it's a wise thing. Maybe 6 months worth or something, but permanently, no, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
She's
with
good with this 6 months, I reckon.
Recommend we go 2.5, but I do have a question. What are you hearing about Medicaid expansion?
I'm still hearing that it's a very viable possibility, and if it's voted in the session, in the next General Assembly session, they'll roll it out within 6 months.
So in 2020, we will be looking at an additional 2 minimum. And I believe that during the discussion that you and I had, those figures were based on a study 4 years ago. So it's possible we will have 3.
The caseload size 4 years ago was, for Alleghany County, was predicted to increase by 1,600 individuals. So,
That's a prediction.
yes. Yeah, we don't know until it actually came to pass, but,
Just like you said, you can't predict the future.
right, right.
We have
I'd say 2.5.
2.5 over here. What do y'all, I'd like to see a number for the 0.5 at the 75% reimbursement, kind of what we were looking. 30 or 0.5, based off of 60 for the year. But 120 for 2
It'd be a little less than 30, yeah.
would be lower than 30.
Yeah.
60,000 for 1.5.
15 with it.
Well, it wouldn't be half of that, would it? Yeah, I guess it would.
Well,
Yeah.
Technically, from my budget, you're adding 1 position, because I'd recommended 1.5, we're going to 2.5. So that's going to be about 35,000 ballpark. We'll get you an exact number, we'll calculate the numbers.
Net to the county.
Yeah, net after reimbursements, yeah.
That's-
From my recommended budget, you're looking at about 35,000 probably.
And more
Maybe
than
30.
likely, that income maintenance supervisor, like my income maintenance supervisor now is a 2, more than likely they would come in as a 1 and do a work against to get to a 2.
Be making slightly less salary initially.
Yeah.
I think we have basically a consensus to see the number and move in that direction of 2.5.
And the same goes for my social work positions. Rarely do I have a social worker IE&T, which is your max level 4. Most of them come in at a trainee, a 1 or a 2.
They'll get there.
They do. They have a work against, and they do get to that point, but they won't come in at that higher level.
And you're not going to have
typically.
all 3 of those positions, the 1 replacement and the 2 new, you're not going to have them all in place July 1, so there's going to be
Yeah,
some period there where those positions are empty, a month or so probably. No way you'll have them all 3 filled July 1st, I don't think. Maybe. You're pretty good, but I don't think you get them 3 filled that fast, so.
All right, I think we're unanimous that moving in the 2.5 direction, pending seeing a number so that we can have something to circle on. All right, we had a couple of other questions.
Level 1 in homemade, you had $6,000 budgeted. That's a pass-through to the Council on Aging, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is.
And if I remember correctly, the Council on Aging ran out of money on that regard, too, on level 1. So those services are expanding.
They are, because of our aging population. Level 1 is basic housekeeping. They don't do any on-hands with the individual. It's just basic housekeeping.
We have, Yeah, so it shows that you didn't request any. Last year, or this year, there's a number of 6,000 in that.
I don't know that the 6,000 requested in here. That was-
Figures not
So our
changed
middle
in
column
years.
should have 6,000 in
Yes,
it
it
for a
does now on
request.
the Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, and what would happen if you don't get that?
We would not have in-home aid level one in this county,
No.
period.
There is a definite need.
There is, yes.
Y'all get that?
Is
It
that
keeps
some of that
level one.
reimbursed? or
It is reimbursed.
If we-
3,000 of that's reimbursed.
If we bumped it, could we get more, or is 3,000 all we can get?
3,000 is all we can get.
Okay. We could bump it, it would just be all county money then?
Yes.
Okay.
That keeps the level one care.
Good.
Yes.
I'm good.
Does that cover it pretty well for the county? I mean,
We don't have a waiting list. We could have, I think, but people typically will make it happen. You know, we are a county that takes care of their own typically. So they end up finding a resource.
If they can't get it here, the family or someone in the community
Church or
will-
somebody, yeah, will
will-
come
will
through.
Yes.
Meet the rest of the needs.
Also got level 2 that the Council on Aging provides, and level 3 too.
The level 2 is extremely increasing fast. And that's the personal care.
We all good on restoring that number to 6? Okay. The next question we had was there's a 1,800 number in Work First. And it shows our request for that number to be 0. Can you speak to that?
That is, yes, that Work First, that 1,800 is a Medicaid benefit, but it's for those who are in a crisis situation. It's called benefit diversion, and it's a one-time shot. We made a decision, I didn't originally make that decision, but it's been the decision in the agency for several years now, I'd say 5+, that it's a one-time thing, which Work First is monthly payments. Benefit diversion would be 3 months' worth of a Work First payment all at one time to get them out of that crisis and alleviate that. It could go to rent, it could go to pay for food, it could go for a deposit on an apartment or anything like that. So it's a lump sum payment.
County money? Is this
This is county money, but it's reimbursable. But since we made and implemented that rule that it was a one-time deal, people don't come back. They've exhausted it already, so we haven't had repeaters. Now, we're announcing it, so we may have someone come in
We
tomorrow.
haven't spent any this year. if
No,
this
we
is
haven't
correct,
spent
Unless there's
any,
something you
because we
haven't turned
haven't
in.
done any benefit diversion. Most of the time, we can implement countywide services to alleviate that crisis without going in and doing that benefit diversion payment.
How long has it been?
I don't think we've used it in 3 years. Since I've been the director, we've not used it.
But we haven't publicized or
Yes, we have not.
Okay.
We used
$350 there. one
Yeah, we
year.
used $350 back in, looks like
17,
budget year
18, yeah.
16, 17. But then the previous 2 years before that, or at least the previous year before that, we didn't use it. So from July 1, 15 until today, we've only used $350 of it.
We don't have that in there, Lisa, what does that do to you?
I would pull it from somewhere else if we had a benefit diversion application. I would just have to pull it from another line item.
It's a fund you just use for an emergency, whether it's there if you need it, and if you don't need it, it reverts back to us.
Yes. So we could drop it like 800. Typically, a benefit diversion payment would be 500. It's I don't remember exactly, like 281 per month, so do 281 times 3. would be a benefit diversion payment.
So,
Want to do 800?
let's say 1,000. Well, split difference, 900.
Cut it in half. Y'all, where you at?
You said 281,
81.
3 months at 6, 8, 24, so 900 would cover 3 months.
Doing one person.
900?
900.
I mean, it's money, it just sits there. If
Right.
it's not used,
Not
it comes
used.
back. You're comfortable with 9?
I am.
All right, I think that was all I had noted for Lisa.
Well, the other question we had was public assistance,
Oh.
which we had, request was 1.4 million. We had cut it back to I'd cut it back to 965. We had 875 in the budget this year. We spent 772 as of, what, a few days ago?
2 weeks ago.
Okay. So we're going to spend probably probably spend 825, 850 probably this year, something like that.
If you run out of money next year, you're going to come back with a budget request, or would you not if we change that figure?
Yes, if I run out of money, I'll have to come because this pays room and board for all our foster kids and various other things. So if I run out of money, I would have to come back.
Might as well leave that figure there then.
Which figure? With
The lo-
one that's boost?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If the sheriff serves warrants, you're going to get loaded up again.
We know it's not going down.
No, it's not going down.
All right.
I will say my scanning line item, I am finished with that. I will have a few trickled in bills probably after the first of the year, but I will not spend all of that. We received 86 for, I will not spend all of that.
Lisa Snow did such a good job preparing it that our costs went down from what their estimate was.
Our staff pulled together and worked extra hours and pulled staples and taped and,
Would you guesstimate that you would need in that line item? Could we cut it in half?
50,000 for
oh
next year.
yes, we could cut it in half.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Done. No one's going to question
If you
that,
give
are
me
they?
my 3 jobs, I'll cut it in half. Can we bargain?
Can you stay a little longer?
Yeah, we have some other departments we would like for you to help us in.
I can spend other people's money.
So where does that new total come in at? Down at the bottom of your,
847,406.
Without the other full-time person?
Yeah, we need to add the salary back in.
any other questions for Lisa?
I think in the discussion I was listening to, I just want to clear up about visits. We have to see every foster kid, all 49 kids, once a month. If we move a child, we have to spend the whole day with that child, moving them and finding placement that day. Then we have to go back and visit that child wherever it is within 7 days. Then we have to make another monthly visit to see that kid. So that's 3 if we have to move them. And those kids are emotionally unstable, so we have 4 kids that we are moving all the time. Now we have others, but we have 4 that have been in care with us for years, and they are not stable, and so we're doing,
Out of state now.
we have 2 out of state.
That's South Carolina.
Yes.
How many trips do you make to the East Coast a year or a month or?
We have kids all over the state of North Carolina, so at least once a month.
Moving them. You don't know when you're going to have to go to the state, coast. depending on the move.
And depending on where you can find placement.
Now,
Does that include an overnight stay for the caseworker, or?
Our staff have opted to not do overnight. They just get up really early and come home really late. And
They
do
may
it all in
drive
one day.
12 hours a day.
Yes.
That's the way I like to do it too. I don't like to spend the night unless I have to.
You have an actual per dollar cost per visit?
what I
We
did,
get meal reimbursements, so that's usually at least one, if not two meals, so that's,
Depending on, meal reimbursement is up to like $40 a day for all 3 meals, so.
and then our gas, so that's typically going to South Carolina, that's easy, a tank of gas. And then our social work time.
Mr. Chairman, I really need to leave just as soon as possible. I mean, you guys can continue, but I really need to cut out right now.
Thank you.
I think if we've, any other questions for Lisa?
I just want to cover one thing, and I'm sure I'm correct, but I want to make sure. And Mike, I think we could release Mike. Whenever you say that the 2 that you have that are emotionally unstable, whenever they are moved to a foster parent, eventually that foster parent says, that's it, I can't handle them anymore, they're your problem, get them out of my house. Now you have doubled your
Hey,
problem
Mike.
where they have no place to be, and you've got to find someone that will take an emotionally disturbed child.
Yes, and we have had cases where we can't find another family, so we have sit at our office all night with that kid, because we're guardian, so we have to have physical possession of that child. If that parent says, we're done, come get them, if it's 2 a.m. We try to resolve it till the next day, but sometimes they're just not willing, so you go get them.
Even if they're in Morehead City, North Carolina.
Yes.
We do the maintenance on her vehicles.
Yes.
County does.
What would you recommend for Alleghany County to get more people involved in becoming foster parents?
That's a difficult job.
I'm sure.
And I will say that the kids have such higher needs than what regular foster families like you and I, if we were to come foster families, can handle. Most of our kids are level 2 and up. The 4 kids that are emotionally, we have problems with, they bounce between a level 4 and a level 3. And
Mr.
level 4 is as high as you can go.
Please explain what a level 2, 3, and 4 is.
4 is 24-hour awake staff, locked facilities, and psychiatric. That's the highest level. A level 3.
So they are abusive to those around and possible to themselves.
Yes. A level 3 is one step under that. It can be a group home, but it's still 24-hour awake staff
With locked doors.
with locked doors, but they don't have the psychiatric services on the grounds in-house. They go out for that. A level 2 is considered a therapeutic home. They receive 10 hours of extra training than you or I as foster parents would receive, and that's just to deal with basic behaviors and holds and that type of thing. And they get a higher pay rate. A level 1 is just like you or I becoming a foster parent, and that's 30 hours of training. I think advertisement, to go back to answer your question, I think we just don't have time because we're so engulfed in dealing with the kids, we don't have time to advertise and get out and recruit people. It just takes special people to open up their hearts and their homes. And it's a lot of time with little pay. A 0 to 5-year-old, they get $475 a month to offset costs. You know, from a 6 to 12-year-old, they get $581. And for 12 and up, it's $634. Well, you know, 12 and up, you're doing driver's license, you're doing sporting events,
Feeding them,
feeding them.
clothing them.
Yeah, and it takes more than that to raise a kid.
Thank you, Lisa.
Time.
Thank you, Lisa.
I
And
hope it
thank you-
helps. Thank you all.
Thank your staff for what they do.
Thank you. If you need anything, just call me.
All right, I think we can journey on a little more, or recess until our next appointed time, whatever y'all want
I
to do.
say recess. My mind's about fried.
Next, we'll go ahead and recess until the 11th at 3 p.m. is what I have on my list. Thank you all.